So now we're moving on to the final stage of this slipcover. We're going to take our pieces that we cut down and sew them together to make it a beautiful slipcover. It's not as complicated as you think. You will be able to do this and it's going to look great. And the good thing is you can do this over and over with this pattern. So let's get started. So now our next step is to show you the sewing order, and there's 6 steps in total. We're going to start with the inside wing. Grab our inside arm. And what we ultimately want is this inside wing, just try to imagine it sitting up, and of course your inside arm is sitting up. These are going to be sewn together, starting with our pencil mark here. The excess, I cut this back, by the way, I cut it back on all of them so you can see the excess that we added from our pattern. Obviously this is the excess. This is our tuck in. This is going to be sewn here and end right here for this pencil line to line up, these two. So that's how this is going to go together. That's the inside arm, inside wing. Now the next step is the seat platform. I'll put down here. This is the seat. It runs off to the front of the chair. And then the inside back. This is step 2. Step 1, step 2. These two get sewn together. Step 2. This is our tuck in. It ended here in the chair. That is the fabric coming down, but we added this for our tuck in. Now the next step we're going to do is sew the inside back to the inside wing. And this becomes an intersection at the bottom. Inside back, inside wing, inside arm, seat platform. It gets a little tricky, but it's easier than you might think. This is an intersection of all our tuck in. The seat platform pivots like this and gets sewn to the inside arm. Now that's 3 steps of the sewing order. So we'll move on to the next steps. So let's get to the sewing. Now this part here is the inside arm, inside wing. You can do this with cording or without cording. It doesn't make a difference. So we're going to do it with cording on this slipcover. I'm going to give you a little visual of what we want to go for. Take the pins out. Fold this back. Fold that back, the inside arm. And basically we're going to have this line up here. And this is going to get sewn all the way around. So I'm going to fold this over because this is the correct side. That's the correct side. I'm going to fold this over. I'm just going to quickly put some pins in here to make it easier for you to see what we're going for. Not really lining it up here. Here. There, get some more pins here. And that's going to turn like this. Now imagine just these pins being the stitches, the sewing. And that's it. That's what we're going to do first. We're going to get this going now. Okay, so it's going to end up like this. Now you're getting an inside wing, inside arm together. So let's go to the sewing and get that started. So we're going to go ahead and put in the cording here at the inside arm and inside wing. We put down a piece of cardboard here because it's hard to see with the white table and the white slipcover exactly what we're doing. So the cording's going to go right where we said it was, and we definitely want to leave enough cording so you can run it over, keep it in the seam, that is, run it over with the walking foot. The cording faces inside, towards your slipcover, so it's cording seam to slipcover seam. That's it. Now, incidentally, I wanted to add that this is what's called a walking foot machine, not a straight stitch, but you can use a straight stitch. This walking foot machine has a cording foot on it from the factory. So if you're using a straight stitch and you want to put cording in your slipcover, get a cording foot that fits your machine. We have a 1/4 inch is, I believe, the size of the cording foot that fits our straight stitch machine. A straight stitch machine only comes with a flat foot, and you won't be able to use cording with that. You could try a zipper foot up against it if you really want cording that much, but it's not the easiest in the world. So get a cording foot, it's the best. Or just go without cording, it's fine, you can go either way. Okay, so we're back on the cutting table here, and as you can see, we did both sides. Looks excellent, the cordings on the inside wing and on the inside arm. So the next step that we're going to do, we're just going to tell you, we know you know how to do this, but we're just going to show you what we're going to do. We have 2 areas that have darts, up at the top of the inside wing and at the top of the inside arm. So all you do is just simply put the correct sides together, meet the ends, put the ends together, and sew a 1/2 inch. That's it. So we're going to do it on this one, we'll have a total of 4. And on this one, and then on the inside arm, we got 2 there as well. That's it, just a 1/2 inch, sew them together, and that's going to be our next move. Okay, here we are back on the table, finishing up step 1. You see that the darts are sewn together. So now let's go on to step 2, and we're going to take the seat platform. Very simple part here. Inside back. This is the bottom of the inside back, and this is the beginning of the seat platform. These get sewn together. Correct side together, no cording, simply turn this around and stitch right here. 1/2 inch will be fine, that's it. Okay, so we're back at the table again, and I'm taking off the inside back pattern, and I'll show you what we did. That's it, we just simply sewed the inside back to the seat platform with a straight stitch. Okay, so now we have the seam sewn here at the seat platform, the inside back. I put this back on just to give you a little idea, keep the visual going as to what we're doing. And there, incidentally, there's a dart down here at the bottom. Go ahead and do that. Do that now before we go any further. And it's the same thing as we did with the inside arm and the inside wing, 1/2 inch, and that's it. So, separated the 2 fabrics. We're going to put this one over here. As you know, we already sewn our cording. This is going to line up with the inside back, just like this. Correct sides facing each other, going down to the inside back and seat platform tuck in. And that's what we're going to do next. This is the most difficult part of the sewing of the slipcover. After this, it's going to be pretty easy rolling then. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to sew this right now, and when we get down to this point, we're going to show you on the sewing machine. When we get down to this point, you pivot it here, and this gets sewn to the seat platform, and this stretches down to the very end down here. So that's what we're doing next. We're sewing, pivoting, and sewing down to the end of the seat platform. So let's see it done on the sewing machine right now. So where we're going to start on the sewing is the top of the inside wing and the inside back. And no cording goes in here. This is all tuck in. simple 1/2 inch straight down. Okay, now you're going to pivot for the inside arm and the seat platform to match, which you just did in the pivoting to line up. Incidentally, whenever you pivot when it comes to sewing, keep your needle in the fabric. Here's that dart on the seat platform in the front. And just run it right to the end. And when you get over to the dart area, just have the seams open on the dart so the dart's flat. Back stitch, and that's it. Okay, we just completed the most difficult part of the sewing here. We've got all our sewing of the inside arm, inside wing, inside back, seat platform. So the next 3 steps, and that was 3 steps in total in our 6-part series of the sewing. The next 3 steps is the outside arm, the outside back, and then the hemming at the bottom. We're not doing a skirt on this slipcover. The customer didn't want one, so we're just going to hem the bottom up. So this is the next 3 that we're going to accomplish. And I want to hold this up to give you a visual. Hopefully this will help a little bit. This is the inside arm I'm holding here. This is the inside wing. You see the dart here. You see the dart here. And this is the inside back. So you can kind of see it's starting to look like a wing chair. You see that right there. So I'm going to make it a little bit easier on you, I hope, by moving this forward, taking our pattern of the outside arm, OA, right there, and we're going to start down at the bottom. Now this is the seat platform of the pieces we've already sewn together. We're going to line that up, and we're going to basically sew, or we're going to sew this all the way up the inside arm. And remember on the other video, the very first one when I did the patterning of the slipcover on the chair, I did T marks. And this is where they come in handy. You need to know where this particular seat platform sewn to the inside arm is supposed to meet on the outside arm. And that's where that helps. So we're going to start here. It looks like it's going to line up nicely. The dart here is at the very top of the outside arm, meeting the inside arm. This is going to move on over to where the cording is, and look at that. We've got a T to line up. I hope you can see that well in the video there. And the cording for the wing, the bottom of the wing and the top of the inside arm matches this T. We're going to walk it, sew it up to that dart, and look, another T. Worked out very well. And now this is the top of the wing, end of the chair, and another T. Right ends right here. And then right here is going to be the outside back. So we're not going to do that just yet. Now you get to see how the outside arm meets with the seat platform, comes together the inside arm, and comes together at the top of the wing of this chair. So let's get started. So now we're at the sewing table, and we're going to show you how to put in the cording. Now if you're not going to use cording, that's okay. It makes it a little even easier on you. But if you're going to use cording, what we're going to do is start at the bottom of the slipcover where the hemming is. And I added 3 inches in total. Now let me show you this little red line right here. This is the outside arm. This is where the furniture ended on the, at the bottom rather. This is where the furniture ended at the bottom. And I added 3 inches total. 3 is because I want 3/4 inch folds. I want to do 1 and then 2 that would take up 1.5 inches. 3/4 times 2 is 1.5 inches. So here's where our furniture ends, and then I want 1.5 inches remaining. So what we're going to do is take our cording and bring it up 1.5 inches at the bottom, and then we're going to hem this up, and then we should be at pretty much at the, well, it's going to go the other way, that's okay. And it's going to end at the cording. So we have 1.5 inches hanging down at the bottom of the furniture. Furniture ends here, 1.5 inches. So in dry cleaning, which I recommend, or washing, whatever you do, then it's going to come up and have a little bit more shrink room, if you would. And if you want to, incidentally, it's your furniture, it's your fabric, pre-wash it in your washing machine. That might help a little bit too in the shrinkage, because some people do that. If it's a color, this is white obviously, then you're running the risk of it fading, but nonetheless, get it, wash it, pre-shrink it, and that'll help if you're wanting to wash your slipcover. So do that when we're about to sew here. Do what I just now explained to you as far as bringing your cording up some, so you accommodate for your hemming. So right now we're coming up on our first dart, and that's where the end of the outside arm will stop. We're pivoting it now, and the needle's in the machine. We're coming up to the cording part at the bottom of the inside wing and running that right over with the sewing machine. Now we're opening up the dart that's at the top of the inside wing. Sometimes you might need to pull the bottom or let a little slack on the top so the points meet. And that is where the outside back is going to be sewn to. It's important to backstitch. Don't forget the backstitch. And that's it. Let's move on to the next part. So now we just completed step 4, and that was sewing the outside arm. And this outside arm has the wing attached to it, so it's all one piece. And I want to show you, start to see how the slipcover is coming together. See platform rolling down. We got our dart that we did earlier. We got a dart at the top of the arm here. And all the cordings in. Here's the cording at the bottom of the inside wing and the top of the inside arm. So it's coming together. It's looking good. We're almost finished. So the next step is step 5, and that's going to be the outside back. And I want you to remember to please take your cording and come up 1.5 inches, because we're going to need 1.5 inches for the hemming. So we're going to take this outside back here, take the pattern off of it, bring it to the sewing machine, and show you how to do it. So now we opened up the outside back, and we start at the bottom of where the hemming is, and this is what we've done here. You take your cording, strip back just a little bit of your cording, and then fold your cording up underneath itself. And this is 1.5 inches from the bottom up to here. And now we're going to take the slip cover Okay, so start sewing at the bottom of the outside arm after you've moved your cording up 1.5 inches. Now we're reaching the top of the outside wing. And we're going to have to pivot it. Remember, always keep your needle down in the fabric when you pivot. Open up any seams so they lay flat. Now we're running across the outside back and the inside back where they meet, going to the other side of the slipcover. Now we reach the other side of the slipcover. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and that's it. We'll get back to you for the hemming. So now we're back on the cutting table, and I just want to show you what we did. The sewing table, this is the outside back right here. Outside wing. The slipcover is wrong side out right now. And basically what we did is we started down at the bottom where the hemming is, came up 1.5 inches with our cording, sewed all the way up to the outside back, and this is the inside back. Back on down to the other side. So that was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So the next thing we need to do is the hemming. That's what we're going to show you to do next. And we're starting with the outside back. We're going to show you how to do the hemming. An easiest way, I think, is probably using an iron for you. But you don't have to use an iron if you don't want to. But it gives you a nice crease and something to follow. So we're going to show you with an iron. We're going to start where the inside back and the outside arm meet. And this is where our cording, this is our cording that's folded over. This is up 1.5 inches. So we're going to come up to the cording like this, and then we're going to fold it one more time. Open up the seam. Hope you can see that there. Keep that seam open as much as you can, okay? And then come up one more time like this. Now let me flip it over, And look, our cording ends right there. That's going to be the bottom of the slipcover. So that works out pretty well. And what we're going to do is fold these over like this, take the iron and run it all the way around the slipcover. Try to keep it as even and as straight as you can, but you can see how that lays down, especially with this good cotton. So cottons make great slipcovers, by the way. And that'll stay down for us at the sewing table. Now do this in all areas of the bottom of the slipcover. And what I mean by all areas, where the cording's coming down, okay? So do just what I said. And then when you get to the sewing table, which I'll show you real quick, you're going to sew at the top of the hem part, okay? So let's get over to the sewing table and show you how it's done. Okay, so now we've done the ironing for the hemming at the bottom. We have it over here at the sewing table. And like we said, we're going to sew at the very top of the hem, and we're starting on the outside back, and we're just going to go all the way around the slipcover until you come back around to this point, and that's it. Now in the meantime, while the bottom of the slipcover is being hemmed, I'm going to show you why I said earlier that the size of your cording is very important. And it's because of this. You want to be able to put your cording in the center of the strips of fabric and have both ends meet perfectly, but also have a 1/2 inch for sewing, because that's standard for sewing. So the size of 1.5 inches using the cording of 5/32 folded over with the cording in the middle leaves you about a 1/2 inch. So that's why it's important to get your cording size correct the first time. I brought over here a cording foot, and as I said earlier, it's got a little groove in here. As I said earlier, it is a 1/4 inch, and that fits our straight stitch. We use a Juki straight stitch from 1971. It works perfect if you keep them tuned up. So you can use a homeowner machine and try it with a zipper foot, but most machines will have available a cording foot. So do that. Now what I can do is go over to the sewing machine and show you how to put these pieces together and how to make the cording. So let's go over to the sewing machine. So we have a little bit of cording left over because we changed our mind. We're not going to put cording down at the bottom on this slipcover like I originally thought. So we have this little bit of extra, and we use this as a demonstration for you. So what I want you to do is first you have to join all your pieces together, because obviously it's not one continuous piece. So what you do is you take the fabric, correct side up, take your next piece, and incidentally I like putting arrows so they're all going the same direction, one long piece. But take your next piece, let's say the arrow's here, and then my arrow is on this end, okay? So I'm going to join it so it's a continuous straight direction. I'm going to join it like this. Correct side up, correct side together, okay? And then I like a tight stitch. I go down to like 2 on the machine, or whatever your machine is. And you take it and pivot it this direction. Put it underneath the foot, the regular sewing foot. Don't use your cording foot because it's not going to get enough on the feed dog to pull through. Tight stitch, regular sewing foot, back stitch, straight to that corner, back stitch, and that's it. You do that with each piece until obviously you're completely out of strips to sew together. Then I will grab a pair of scissors and cut off this excess about 1/4 inch away from your seam. There's my seam right there. Then I'm going to cut off the machine, switch over to my cording foot and or your zipper foot, if that's what you're using. Don't try to sew those together with a zipper foot. It's probably not going to give you enough surface on that feed dog either. So we will switch over to the cording foot and simply put it in the machine. Get your cording in the center, like this, fold it over. I've already backstitched, and just keep sewing it straight on until you're finished. Now the reason why I open it up by the way here at the intersections and lay the cording in. because it keeps it from being so bulky. I'm going to pull this out in just a second and show you why I wanted a tight stitch on that cording. So these are 2 tips I'm going to give you. The reason why I want you to have a tight stitch is because when you put this on a cushion and it's going around the turn, if you have a loose stitch there, and say this is like a red fabric or a dark color fabric, you're going to see the white cording underneath there and it looks terrible. So make a tight stitch every single time you join your cordings together. Also, the second tip is use a matching thread when possible, because sometimes you don't get up on the cording as far as you'd like to, and then if you have a different color cording, you've got a competing colors there. So if you can get a matching thread for the fabric when you're doing your cording, do that. It looks a lot better than having a bright color thread in your cording. So there's your tips. So we hope you're as happy with your slipcover as we are with ours. I want to leave you with this thought that if you're using white for a slipcover, they can make very good looking slipcovers, but if you have dark furniture underneath, it can photograph through. So before you go to all this trouble, make sure by holding your fabric up to your furniture that it won't photograph through. Now if it does, you can use simple white lining fabric underneath, and you would cut that out when you cut the white top fabric for your slipcover, and just put the 2 together so it makes it even thicker. So it shouldn't photograph that away. Being white, you might want to try fabric protection. It does work. I have a video on that, and check that out as well. And if you're not sure how to put on a slipcover because it's your first time, I have a video on that as well. Check that out, how to put one on a piece of furniture. And you can use Scotchgard, but every time you wash it, reapply it, because it does come out with washing. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to go to urbancastlesolutions.com. We'll see you next time.